Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today's episode is Don't Go Near the Fortress of Fear, and this is episode 14 of Season 3 of the Scooby-Doo Where Are You series. And you can buy this on the incredible Scooby-Doo Where Are You box set. It's got 41 episodes of Scooby-Doo goodness, also available on DVD. I'll leave a link below where you can buy it. It's 15 hours of incredible Scooby-Doo goodness. Anyway, Don't Go Near the Fortress of Fear. It originally aired on December 19th, 1978. So I can't do the math. I guess it's 41 years ago, depending on when you're watching this. And it sees the gang heading to Puerto Rico for a vacation, only to run into the mystery ghost of Juan Carlos at the Moro Fortress. As always, my reviews contains tons of spoilers because I give away who the ghost is at the end. So if you haven't seen this episode, check it out first before you watch mine. Anyway, let's get to it. The episode begins with a shot of the El Moro Fortress at night. Two young boys named Pedro and Diego are seen sneaking up to the fortress to catch a glimpse of the ghost of Juan Carlos. Their wishes are granted as the ghost appears to frighten them off. Meanwhile, on the port, we see the mystery machine being lowered by a crane. This means the gang drove all the way from California to Florida and then took a boat with the mystery machine as cargo to Puerto Rico.
Wanted to see Puerto Rico.
On the dock, the gang hear the sound of a cannon being fired, and Freddy writes it off as a sonic boom. They also spot the local police on the dock searching for something. Deciding to investigate, the gang learns that the local museum has been robbed of its priceless treasures.
It was the crime of the century, senor. These treasures must not be allowed to leave Puerto Rico, but our police force can handle it.
The gang offered to help investigate. However, the local police officer explains that their force can handle the case. A mysterious man in white can be seen eavesdropping off in the distance. Driving past the fortress, the gang once again hear the explosive noise of a cannon being fired. Drawn to the noise, the gang investigate the fortress. Once at the fortress, they split up. There, Shaggy and Scooby discover a red-hot cannon, meaning that it was recently fired. It also doesn't take long for Scooby and Shaggy to run into the ghost of Juan Carlos. The ghost exclaims, "Out of my fortress!" And Scooby and Shaggy kindly abide. After a quick chase, Scooby and Shaggy evade the ghost. When they meet up with the rest of the gang outside, they both decide to keep it a secret that they even saw the ghost because they know if they tell the gang, they'll have to go back into the fortress. The next morning, the gang go on a fishing trip and they ask Captain Eddie about the fortress.
Fortress? Sure, I know all about it.
The good captain explains that the fortress is guarded by a 16th century Spanish general named Juan Carlos, and this ghost occasionally shoots off an old cannon. Meanwhile, while fishing, Shaggy snags a parachute. When he pulls it in, Freddy notices that it is too small to support either a man or a woman, while Velma declares that it has no water damage, so it must have recently been deployed. A heavy fog rolls in and cuts the fishing trip short. Just look at Freddy's reaction to the foghorn. Hilarious! Fascinated by the ghost legend, Freddy, Velma, and Daphne decide to revisit the fortress. Once more, Scooby and Shaggy run into the ghost, who makes quite the effort to murder them by launching them off the forest wall. Like, this part is actually riveting. The ghost is actually trying to kill them, as it is a long way down. Before Shaggy and Scooby fall to their doom, Freddy and the girls show up and scare the ghost away. Freddy helps Scooby and Shaggy back up, but even after almost being murdered by the ghost, he abandons the two at the fortress so he and the gals can go to the Hall of Records to investigate. Freddy's excuse for leaving them there is that lightning never strikes twice, meaning that it's unlikely they'll run into the ghost a second time. This excuse doesn't make any sense, as this was already the second time that Shaggy and Scooby have run into the ghost. They ran into him the night before. As if to mock Freddy even further, a bolt of lightning strikes the space near Shaggy's feet 2 times in a row. At the Hall of Records, the gang wake up the record keeper to investigate.
Why do you disturb me so late at night?
Here, Daphne discovers a map of Puerto Rico that shows a tunnel leading from the museum to the fortress. Velma suspects that the museum being robbed and the fortress haunting have to be connected. After hearing the gang talk about this, the record keeper kicks the gang out in a panic.
You must leave!
Knowing that they're onto something, the three of them search for the tunnel entrance by the museum. What they don't realize, however, is that they're still being trailed by the man in the white suit. After tripping on a cobblestone, Daphne falls onto a telephone booth and reveals the secret entrance to the fortress. Descending, the trio follow the tunnel for about an hour.
We've been walking for almost an hour. Yeah.
Until they come across a gleaming pile of stolen treasure. Turning back, they decide to go inform the police. However, a mysterious hand pulls a lever that sends the roof crashing down and blocking their escape. It turns out that the ghost of Juan Carlos, who sent the roof crashing down, was using another booby trap, and he also sends Shaggy and Scooby crashing down into the tunnel as well. In all the hijinks, the gang discover more small parachutes. They also discover hollow cannonballs, and Velma has this mystery figured out. Velma figures a way out of the tunnel, but before they can leave, they run into the man in white. It turns out he's Inspector Amendez of the Puerto Rico Police.
I am Inspector Armendez of Puerto Rico Police.
He had been following the gang out of interest, and he congratulates them on finding part of the treasure. Unfortunately, half of the remaining treasure has already been smuggled out of the country. The gang and the detective decide to set up a trap, and while they don't catch the ghost at first, they indirectly catch them, and it is revealed that it is Captain Eddie.
Captain Eddie!
What Captain Eddie had been doing this entire time was firing off hollow cannonballs filled with treasure towards his boat. Then all he had to do was fish the parachuted goods out of his fishing nets to collect his stolen booty. From there, he could smuggle it out of the country.
Meddling young fools. They've gotten away with a king's ransom.
Captain Eddie is then hauled off to the local slammer by Inspector Mendez. With another mystery solved, the gang spend the next day frolicking on the beach. I give this episode an 8 out of 10. While originally I didn't think it was that great, I thought it was kind of more of a 6. I felt this way because I feel the villain is bland in both appearance and personality. Like, all he really does is laugh. However, the fact is he did try to kill Scooby and Shaggy, and this made for some riveting moments for me, because you never knew what evil this guy was going to be up to. The episode also moves fast at a quick clip. I went from a 6 to an 8 because they switch locations every few minutes. They're on a dock, they're in the fortress, they're on a fishing boat, they're at the Hall of Records, they're in a tunnel. There's like a top secret tunnel that's disguised by a phone booth. I feel this was a super smart way to keep Shaggy and Scooby isolated for most of the episode, and it made for some interesting adventures between the two groups. It just kept everything interesting. Like I said before, the actual ghost for me was rather generic and not that interesting to look at. Like when I think of Scooby-Doo villains, this guy does not spring to mind. However, the real bad guy, Captain Eddie, well, he was quite devious and sinister with his two-faced personality. And that's why I just have to give this an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to hit like or subscribe. It helps my channel grow and it helps keep me motivated to spend the several hours a week it takes to make these 10-minute clips. Also, if you'd like to request an episode for a review, leave a comment below. Until next week, stay spooky.
Ha ha ha!